Hello and welcome back to the Nasty Metal Production channel here YouTube, and welcome to another Friday review. Today I am reviewing the debut full-length album from Japanese heavy metal / speed metal band Significant Point. It is Into the Storm, which was released on February 7th via Dying Victims Productions. So here on February 7th it would have been digitally, but then finally on February 26th it was then finally given physical releases via CD and 12-inch vinyl, and even blue vinyl. So there you go. Alright, so, Significant Point. These guys, again, they are based out of Japan, which is Tokyo, Japan. However, these guys have been around since 2011. Damn. Pretty much a whole decade. And it took them a pretty long time to release their debut full-length album. So, but eventually in 2014, they released their very first demo, which was titled Attacker, which actually had a little bit of a different lineup. So let's look at the lineup here, because apparently this is going to come into play with Into the Storm. So let me see if I can zip through all of this. So here we go. On guitars, we have, see if I can try and pronounce all of this correct. Kazuki, or is it? Yeah, Kazuki Kuwagaki, or Kuwagaki, I hope I pronounced that right. I know I'm butchering their names. Then on guitars and as well, because they apparently got two guitar players. So twin guitar attack, Gyu Takeuchi. Then on drums, Rin. Then on bass, Takuaoi Mashiko. Apologize. I absolutely apologize. I absolutely should be shot for actually completely butchering some of these names. I absolutely... Oh boy, that's probably going to get me in trouble there. And then finally on vocals is Kasuka. So, or Kasuki, I think is there. Alright, so there you go. There is at least what was the lineup in 2014. But here on the debut album, because again, since then they then released Live at Tokyo, which was a live album released in 2017. Then in 2018 they released could be a re-recording of the track Attacker from the demo, which we can look and see what was the track listing for this one, which was Attacker and Danger Zone, which all would end up being on this album. So I'm warning if they are different versions compared to the ones that are found on this album. So here we go, finally into the Storm. The lineup for this album would then be I Tormentor, I think is the name, which then replaced Rin. Again on drums, we still have Gyu Takeuchi and Kazuki Kawagaki on guitars, and then on bass, again, replacing on bass then, because it was Takuaoi Mashiko was on bass, but for here, replacing him, and this is his debut on any release, though. So it would be Kazuhiro Wanatanbi. My computer's at least from me, so there you go. I apologize. But for guest vocals, replacing Kazuke on vocals, we got George Itch. So he's just a guest singer for this album. He apparently was in a band called let me try and was it Rising Fall, I think they were called. Live musicians, see what we got. No, apparently I have to go over here. Apologize. I absolutely apologize. Let's get into here. Yeah, Rising Fall. He was the original. He was again singing for Rising Fall, and he still is. So he is at least a guest singer for this album. So since I pretty much took about almost 4 minutes just by butchering names and butchering all sorts of BS here, which I absolutely apologize. Since we are at this point, since I need to at least kind of keep you guys up to speed, since you all of you probably are not completely familiar with Significant Point, let's finally get into my thoughts of Into the Storm, the debut full-length album from Significant Point. Alright, so Before we really get into anime thoughts, let's do a track listing rundown. We got about 10 songs here, and it all clocks in at 43 minutes and 59 seconds. So these 10 songs are Attacker, Heavy Attack, You've Got the Power, Riders Under the Sun, Night of the Axe, Run for Your Life, the title track, Death Rider, no, it is not a Anthrax cover, Danger Zone, and is definitely not a Sinner cover, and then finally Running Alone. So there's your 10 songs. Alright, since I tried, even though I was very familiar with Significant Point, I do definitely have to point out that I don't recall hearing much of their stuff before. If I did, it, again, probably didn't leave as much of a lasting impression. But upon listening to this debut album from these guys, I mean, just from the opening song, Attacker, it is an absolute face melter. And right from there, just from there, we get into at least Heavy Attack, and then all the way to the very last song, Running Alone. I'm really completely surprised by this album on how good this is. I've seen some people definitely also kind of have some iffies with the singer here, because of it's definitely a different singer compared to the guy beforehand, Kazuke. But George Itch, I think, has a fine vocals for himself. I think what Significant Point really reminds me at times are somewhere between early sort of Loudness and Anthem. And maybe even like Sabre Bells. Again, just the name of plenty of other Japanese heavy metal bands. And I wouldn't say the band X, they went by. I know they X Japan, I think. I wouldn't completely, even though they definitely fall in that sort of in terms of musically, but they definitely tend to really take more of the influence of, like, again, bands like Sabre Bells and Loudness and Anthem and some of those kind of bands. That's where I really hear a lot of that in their sound, and you really can hear that. This is definitely, even though they definitely take more influence as well from a lot of the Western metal bands, for example, any of the classic US power metal bands like Savage Grace and maybe even Obsession, Omen, and just plenty of those kind of bands, or even Liege Lord. Again, you can hear some of those in their sound as well on here, but for the most part, it's still very much Japanese metal, but still, again, with, trying to do more English-style lyrics, again, with the Japanese singer doing that, and so that's, you can tell, again, because of he's a Japanese singer, he definitely isn't the most greatest at English. But I think it's always been a charm for me when it comes to a lot of Japanese bands. I kind of like it when, because again, it still makes it Europe. It's at least it makes it native again, and that's what I really appreciate. And this is easily, you get plenty of that. But just from the opener to that, this is just a straight up solid album, and I think again the vocals don't really bog the album down. There's some great guitar playing. This is some great metal. I would say this is like the speed metal equivalent to, like, say, the band Blaze, because again you can just feel the energy, you can feel the just the power and the emotion coming out of these guys. They really love what they're playing on this album. It's just great. And I mean, just from other great tracks, I mean, you've got The Power, which is a more mid-paced, anthemic type rocker with hooks. It's a great track. I do like that. And I also really dig other songs I hear, like Riders Under the Sun, which really brings back some of that speed and just that energy. The title track, which though, while opens up at the, again, like thunderstorms and rain, again, definitely falling more in line with the artwork on the album. And it really fits the title, and it's, again, another great metal track. I really dig it. Death Rider is another sort of fast, in-your-face, just straight-up, energetic metal track. I really dig it. Danger Zone, this is probably the one that really does have that Savage Grace vibes, where it really wouldn't fit, it wouldn't be too far out of place on an album like Master of Disguise or After the Fall from Grace, from Savage Grace. It really kind of falls into that. Just has that classic US power metal sound. I love it. Finally, with the very last song, Running Alone, which again begins with the sounds of fires, like fire crackling and so on, and just you can just feel it almost. I feel like the room heats up just from that intro. Then you get treated to the sounds of very clean, very acoustic guitar, just a clean guitar sound. and which again, it really builds up. It's giving you, you know it's going to go somewhere, then finally it goes into a straight up galloping, again, almost new wave or British heavy metal kind of track. It just has that sort of riff. Just great stuff, and that's what ends the album. So Running Alone, I mean, there's really not really a bad song on here. It's thoroughly enjoyable from beginning to end. I mean, for an album that's close to 44 minutes, they really definitely know how to pack an album, and it's really packs a punch here. Just straight up classic metal with this whole entire album. Anyone who would probably definitely digs the new wave for traditional heavy metal stuff, and also likes old school Japanese metal from the 1980s, and just likes great US pen metal, just likes all that kind of stuff, I can't see you not liking this album. It's a solid metal album that is great. I think is great, and a good one that was released this year. I really like this one a lot. I was just surprised how great this sounded. Even the production and the mixing, it's definitely modern production in some cases, but it's got a really good balance between clean, sounding kind of clean, but still sound raw and dirty, and it's just fantastic. And just that overdriven guitar tone, fantastic. It really at times really does capture the antithesis of the 1980s. It really captures that, and I really like it. Again, I can't say anything bad about it. It's just, again, just from top to bottom, a thoroughly enjoyable metal album from a Japanese metal band here in 2021. I know there's been some great Japanese metal bands that have put some stuff out, but as far as stuff that has that sort of classic 80s metal sound to it, this is a good one. It's definitely a good throwback heavy metal album that still somehow sounds fresh to my ears here in 2021. Alright, so there you go. I've talked as much as I wanted to finally, just to get my thoughts in. I finally got it in. And so finally, let's get into my rating, which is a 9.25 out of 10. Yes, I have to write the shit down. And my God, this is a great album. I think, again, 9.25 is a high rating. I haven't really given an album so far. I think I might have, but as far as when it comes to at least the traditional heavy metal genre in some cases, I haven't really been giving a lot of some of the traditional metal albums so far. Not since the Midnight Spell album that came out just a few months ago. Not really since then that I have given an album a pretty freaking high rating, and this one is. It's close. This is a really good album. So, if you haven't heard Into the Storm from Significant Point, and if this does sound like something you really would be into, I definitely recommend getting this album. I'll try and leave links to at least where you can get this album, where you can listen to it. You can find it on the New Wave or Traditional Heavy Metal Full Albums channel on YouTube. You can find the album there because he's got it uploaded, so you can listen to it there. Again, I'm going to make sure, because I really do recommend this album. I think it's a solid album. So with that, I hope all of you enjoyed. Also, should point out that if you have listened to this album, definitely, I'm very curious on what your thoughts are, and you can leave them in the comment section below. Alright, finally, again, if you enjoyed this review, I hope you enjoyed it. So with that, this is Thrash. I say I'm out, and I'll see you all later. Take care, everyone.